The California sun had just dipped below the horizon when Meghan Markle's phone began ringing incessantly. She tapped the screen and her husband Prince Harry's panicked voice crackled through the speaker. "Meghan. You need to come home right away," Harry gasped, his words laced with sheer terror. I'm not well. Please, hurry." Meghan's heart dropped at his tortured tone. "Harry? Harry, what's going on? Are you all right?" She had just been out running errands, but she instantly began racing back towards their Montecito mansion. "Just get here fast," Harry wheezed before the call disconnected abruptly. Meghan's mind raced as she weaved through suburban traffic at breakneck speed. Harry had seemed perfectly fine when she left only an hour ago. But the raw fear in his voice sent chills down her spine. What could have happened in such a short time? As she turned onto their private road, Meghan's breath caught in her throat. The iron gates stood wide open and the circular driveway was absolute chaos. 2 ambulances were parked haphazardly, their back doors hanging open. Paramedics were rushing about in a frenzy of activity. She brought the car to a screeching halt and leapt out, her designer handbag falling forgotten to the pavement. "Harry? Harry," she cried out in desperation. One of the paramedics spotted her and rushed over. "Are you Meghan Markle? The wife?" Yes. "Where's my husband? Is he all right?" The paramedic's expression was grim. "Mr. Sussex suffered some sort of seizure. We're preparing to transport him to the hospital now. You'd better come quickly." Meghan felt her knees go weak as she followed the paramedic around the side of the ambulance. There on a gurney lay Harry, his face ashen and body trembling. His eyes were open but seemed to stare blankly at nothing. "Harry!" Meghan cried, climbing into the ambulance and grasping his clammy hand. I'm here." Harry's head lolled towards her and his lips moved, but no sound came out. Tears streamed down Meghan's cheeks as she clutched him desperately. The paramedics secured Harry and slammed the doors. Sirens blared as they tore out of the driveway, racing towards the hospital. Meghan stroked Harry's sweat-soaked hair, whispering words of comfort despite not knowing if he could even hear her. In the trauma room, doctors swarmed around Harry, barking orders and setting up 4 lines. Meghan was ushered into a quiet corner, still in shock, as they went to work. Long minutes bled into an hour with no word on Harry's condition. Finally, a graying doctor in mint green scrubs approached Meghan. She searched his face for some inkling of hope, but it was drawn in solemn lines. "Mrs. Markle," the doctor began, "I'm afraid your husband's condition is very serious." The words were like a kick to Meghan's gut. Her legs went numb beneath her as the doctor continued. "Mr. Sussex suffered what appears to be a grand mal seizure, possibly brought on by extreme stress and anxiety. He has slipped into a coma-like state." Meghan's world spun. A coma? Her brave, strong Harry? Squeezing her eyes shut, she struggled to make sense of it all. Just that morning, they had been sat outdoors discussing King Charles's latest royal proclamation regarding the children's titles. It had been an upsetting conversation. After abdicating their royal duties, there were rumors afoot that Archie and Lilibet's rights to use the royal HRH titles and prince/princess honorifics would be officially stripped. They're still being punished, even after all this time. Harry had raged, his jaw clenched tightly. "But they're just children," Meghan had reminded him softly. Innocent children. The mere idea that his own father would go to such lengths seemed to crush Harry's spirit. Who could blame him for his visceral reaction after the endless dramatics of Megxit? Perhaps the building stress of that situation had been the tipping point that sent Harry's mind and body into an overwhelming storm. As Meghan opened her eyes again, a horrible thought occurred to her. Had she failed to see the warning signs? Should she have paid closer attention to Harry's rising tension? If so, this nightmare could have been prevented. A fresh wave of guilt washed over her as she awaited further update on her husband's dire condition. Hours later, Meghan was finally ushered into the ICU to see Harry. He was unconscious, unmoving except for the rhythmic rise and fall of his chest triggered by the whirring life support machines. His face looked eerily peaceful despite the dire circumstances. Meghan slowly lowered herself into the chair beside his bed, drinking in every detail of his features. She tenderly ran her fingers through his untamed ginger hair. "Oh Harry, my love," she whispered, voice cracking. "I'm here now. You need to come back to me." Out in the hallway, Meghan could see members of the hospital staff rushing about urgently. A broadcast was playing on the TV about some sort of emergency situation in the UK. She paid it little mind, focused entirely on willing her husband back to health. Gradually, exhaustion began to weigh heavily on Meghan's eyelids. She rested her head on the edge of Harry's bed, intertwining her fingers with his. As she finally drifted into a restless sleep, the TV reporters became audible once more. Still reeling from this unprecedented event. One's voice carried. By royal decree, His Majesty King Charles has officially dissolved all remaining titles and citizenships for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their 2 children. Outside, chaos reigned as protests erupted through the streets. The world sat transfixed, waiting to see how, or if, Harry and Meghan would rise again from such a devastating blow.